Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and today I get to talk about the entire Dragon Quest series. Now while I've played through them myself, this isn't my list. This was voted for by you guys on NintendoLife.com. So if you have an issue with the placements of these, you've got to blame yourselves. But anyway, without further ado, let's check these games out. All the way back at number 11, we have Dragon Quest II Luminaries of the Legendary line. For most franchises, being right at the bottom would mean that you're a lesser game, but Dragon Quest II is still insanely valued. This brought party members to RPGs, and an overworld so vast you need a vehicle to traverse it. Here in the West, Final Fantasy has always been the more popular franchise, but Dragon Quest II predated it by 11 months, and so many elements that Final Fantasy had were done better in Dragon Quest II. It's a much faster game and better paced, and frankly just more exciting. So why is it at the bottom? Well, for everything it did for RPGs, the game itself can be a bit tedious at times. The random encounter rate can be absolutely crazy, and with more party members and monsters per battle, they definitely drag on a lot more than the first game did. Plus, one of your party members, Conrad, he just dies like all the time. There's even a part in the story where he gets sick and leaves your party. This guy was not built for this. However, even with those shortcomings, Dragon Quest II can be such a thrilling game. Once you get the boat, the entire world just opens up and it's so fun to explore. And to show just how big this game is, the entire region of the first game is in Dragon Quest II as a mere island. This is Alefgard, and this is the rest of Dragon Quest II. It was shrunk down somewhat, but this is still really impressive. It may have its shortcomings, but Dragon Quest II is still an influential and essential RPG. And at number 10, we have the game that started it all, the original Dragon Quest. It may be quite simple compared to the second game, with just one party member, one monster per battle, and just one region, but all of this makes Dragon Quest I incredibly fun to replay. It's only around 7 hours long, and it's just such a cozy game to revisit. This released in 1986 before any other RPG of its kind. We had games like Wizardry and Ultima, but they weren't like this. This took those complex systems and made it something incredibly accessible, and to this day, RPGs really haven't changed that much. The command battle system is essentially still the same as it is in Dragon Quest XI. We still explore an overworld and go into towns and talk to NPCs and take down bosses. This game introduced us to the genre and pretty much perfected it on its very first try. But the original NES and Famicom versions do show their age somewhat. As in, to open a door, you go to the menu and press door, and to go downstairs you open the menu and press stairs. It's definitely old school D&D, and the new ports, they don't have this. But those limitations don't take away from Dragon Quest. It's hard to forget the first time we saw Akira Toriyama's Slime. Everything about this game is so iconic, and to this day, Dragon Quest I is an amazing RPG. And at number 9 is Dragon Quest X, a game that most of us have not played. This is a very successful Japan-exclusive MMO that started out on the Wii. It then made its way to Wii U, PC, PlayStation 4, 3DS, Switch, and even phones. There's been a ton of expansions and there's even story ties to Dragon Quest IX, but we just can't play this game. Heck, in the Dragon Quest presentation, an entirely offline chibi remake was confirmed, and as far as we know, even that is staying in Japan. Hopefully, that changes. 10 is the one and only mainline Dragon Quest game to not leave Japan, and the fact you guys didn't put this at the bottom speaks volumes for how good this game really must be. But for now, it's hard to properly judge this one. At number 8 is Dragon Quest VI Realms of Revelation. The Nintendo DS was very good to this series, giving us remakes of 4, 5, and 6, and a brand new entry in 9. But what's really special about the 5 and 6 remakes is, in the West, this was our first time getting those games. They were only on Super Famicom. Now, the original Dragon Quest VI had elements that refined the series, but the thing is, those elements were put into the remakes of all the games. So when we're judging the DS versions themselves, 6 feels kind of vanilla. There's not really much personality to this one, and most fans view it in one of two ways. Either it's the worst in the series, or it's a hidden gem. Personally speaking, it's fine, but it's not on the level of the other DS games. The main gimmick here is the job system, something that hadn't really been seen since 3. It's one of the most flexible in the series, and you can definitely customize your party to your own playstyle. If you're someone invested in story, this game might disappoint you. It delves into parallel dimensions, but the story itself is a bit on the weak side. Your mileage may vary with this one, but just personally speaking, it's not my favourite. But at number 7, we have one of the most important RPGs of all time, Dragon Quest III. This took everything that worked in 2 but polished it to a shimmering gleam. All the tedious elements were pretty much gone, and as was Conrad. Get out of it, Conrad! Instead of a fixed party with 3 characters, you make your own party with 4 characters. It can be whatever you want. If you want a party of healers, that's fine. If you want a balanced party, that's fine too. If you want a party of warriors, that's fine too. Well, you probably want a healer. As you get further in the game, you can even change their class and they retain all the spells they learned prior, so essentially, they're multiple classes. It was and still is a really deep RPG, and the world design is some of the best in the entire series. 3 released only 2 months after Final Fantasy I, and it blew it out of the water. The first Final Fantasy is a bit hard to return to, but 3 still feels incredibly modern. There's even a brand new HD 2D remake coming in the style of Octopath Traveler, and I cannot wait. Simply put, Dragon Quest III is one of the most important games in the entire industry, and it's something everyone should play. Number 6. Dragon Quest VII Fragments of the Forgotten Past. This originally released in Japan and the US on the Sony PlayStation, but it took until 2016 for it to finally come to Europe on the 3DS. This was remade from the ground up. No more 2D sprites on the 3D plane, but rather a fully 3D game. Random encounters were gone, and in its place were real-time overworld encounters. It really is a rich remake and looks absolutely stunning on 3DS. 7 is often slept on for being one of the longer games in the series, and it's true this is a commitment. There's elements of time travel, so you often see the same location quite a few times. That said, seeing characters' stories in the past and how they play out into the future is really rewarding. You get a lot of time with everyone and form some real bonds. 7 ends up feeling like one of the most unique and established games in the series, and while the pacing may not maintain everyone to the end, this is one of the best RPGs on 3DS. At number 5, we have Dragon Quest IV: The Chapters of the Chosen. Unlike the other DS remakes, this one isn't based on a Super Nintendo game, but rather an NES game. However, those roots don't really show. Dragon Quest IV was so far ahead of its time that it does feel surprisingly modern. In this one, you choose between a male or female protagonist, and you don't see them for a long time. This is a chapter-based Dragon Quest game, and those chapters are told from the viewpoints of different party members. You won't actually have a party together until much later in the game. This style was quite refreshing, and up until this point party members in Dragon Quest were kind of blank slates, but delivering it this way allows each party member to really thrive and have their own story going on. Plus, they love the merchant one so much they gave him his own spin-off game, which became the very first Mystery Dungeon. So without this, there wouldn't be Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Thank you, Dragon Quest IV. It was the first game to be separate from the first trilogy, and it really stands on its own. Easily one of the franchise's very best. At number 4, we have Dragon Quest IX: Sentinels of the Starry Skies. Now, this is one of the Dragon Quest games to be a big deal worldwide. 9's probably the most played game in the West. How couldn't it be with adverts like this?
Let's connect! Where did you get all the awesome new stuff?
Remember, it's tag mode. We can connect with other players and share cool treasure maps.
Whoa, it's like Dragon Questing with everyone!
Ooh. So unlike 4, 5, and 6, Dragon Quest IX is an entirely original game, and it really pushed the system. While the prior games and competing series like Pokemon were 2D, Dragon Quest IX was an entirely 3D game on the DS. For the first time in the series, there were no random encounters at all. Everything was on the overworld. Pokemon wouldn't do that until the Switch. It was a technical marvel for the system, and there was so much customization. All of your gear appears on your character in real time, and there was even a heavy multiplayer component. Your friends could be your party members, and you can play Dragon Quest together. It may have been lacking in a party of actual characters, but that's not the point of this game. Everything it sets out to do, it does remarkably well. And 11 years later, it's about time for a remake. At number 3, we have Dragon Quest VIII: The Journey of the Cursed King. This was the first Dragon Quest game that really got me into the series, and it stands as one of my favourites. One of the best cast of characters, including Munchie, one of the best worlds, one of the best stories. VIII is simply fantastic. It brought the series into 3D for the very first time, and it was stunning seeing a traditional RPG in this style. So many RPGs of the time were going a lot more linear, but Dragon Quest VIII was a full open world with proper towns, and it still looked fantastic. This came to 3DS around a decade later, and while there are some compromises, it plays better than ever. The biggest thing, random encounters are entirely gone on 3DS. Battles can also be sped up to be faster, and there's 2 brand new party members. This is simply one of the best RPGs ever made. And did I mention Munchies in it? And at number 2, we have Dragon Quest V, The Hand of the Heavenly Bride. If this were my list, it would be number 1, because in my opinion, this is the best RPG ever made. 5 was Japan exclusive on the Super Famicom, but it came to Europe and the Americas on the DS. It's almost hard to focus on why this game is so good. So much of what makes the franchise great is in here, but it's so much more personal than ever. It's a story of family and generations. You start off as you and your dad, but as the story goes on, you become an adult and make a family of your own. And then that family becomes your party members. So you, your wife, and your children are on a journey together. It's something we just don't see in games very often, and it's incredibly touching and personal. But is that the main hook, or is it the monster collecting? 4 years before Pokemon was even a thing, random encounters could grant you a monster as a party member. All those monsters we know through Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, and 4 could now be on our side. There's part of the game where it's just you on your own with no other party members, and building a monster team feels so strange but also incredibly rewarding. And the final boss is amazing. In that fight you can freely change your party around on the fly. I found a King Cure Slime with Omni Heal, and that heals everyone, so he's really useful. But then your son's great at attacking. Mixing all the monsters and humans together adds so much strategy and depth, and I don't think Dragon Quest has ever been better than this. The story is outright the best, and it's so well paced. This is my favourite Dragon Quest game. But what did you guys vote for? And of course, number 1 is Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. Really had to stretch the graphic for that one. Of course though, this is the highest production Dragon Quest ever, and it deserves the praise it gets. In an age where most RPG franchises are going action and forgetting their roots, Dragon Quest is exactly what it's always been. It just looks the part and presents itself as much. The S version makes a ton of enhancements like an orchestrated soundtrack, faster battles, and even a 2D mode. Although this 2D mode came from the 3DS version, which in itself was also another version. Yes, there's 3 versions of this game, and they're all completely different. 11 was a big deal for the franchise. This was the 30th anniversary game. There's callbacks to all over the series, and specifically, the first trilogy. It's a great starting point, so a lot of these references aren't necessary, but as a fan, it's so cool to catch these small little nods, and sometimes big nods. It's simply a stunning and expansive adventure, easily the best RPG of the modern generation. The story keeps going with twists and turns, and Sylvando! Do I have to say more than that? Every party member feels so well realised, and while this game may not really have a twist to call its own, it just does the original style extraordinarily well. Dragon Quest XI is a pure joy. So, what do you guys think of these placements? Unlike other series, I feel that Dragon Quest is so full of quality that any game could potentially be number 1. Unlike other series where it's kind of controversial to pick a certain game, every game in this series is just so full of life and quality that I can respect it. If 6 is your favourite, then 6 is your favourite, that's fine. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and go to that subscribe button and face it in a turn-based battle, and we'll see you next time. Bye everyone.